and have a larger platform to express their views and further their discourse more so than women in the community are? Have you experienced anything like that?
Well, first and foremost, I'd like to say Happy Anti-Homophobia Day.
International Day of
And with regards to male figures in South Africa, you see our struggle every day. You saw in the visuals. As queer people, we're struggling every day. With regards to systematic oppression, with regards to white privilege, with regards to so many other systematic positioning with regards to us as black people as well. It's like, the little privilege that males have had over the past maybe 100 years, the little privilege that they've had and has been taken away is now like a whole situation. I get confronted every day like, oh, come on, you get all the girls. Oh, come on, you get first preference. I work my ass off, guys. I worked at ENCA last year. For 3 years, I worked at ENCA. And just for me to even get like my permanent position was a struggle, while all the other male figures, because they were tied with the other male, managerial positions, they got their positions faster than I did. And I was working, guys. I was sweating. When you wake up, you sleep 32 hours, and you're just like, what am I even doing? Like, just so that I can get 10 steps ahead. So it's more like systematically, the system is built for males. The system is patriarchy.
Cisgender men.
It's cisgender men are shook that queer black women like myself actually taking a stand against such nonsense. For me, it's bullshit. Sorry, excuse my profanity, but it's bullshit. That, we have to stand there and be like, okay, fine, no, I'm a female, first and foremost. If it's a non-binary, or it's gender fluid, or it's a trans individual, why are they fighting to get the same position as male figures do? Look at any other industry. Look at the entertainment industry. Women are fighting daily just so that their voices can be heard. I remember when who's this girl, Maschaba, when she spoke about the Mambinja and the Babe Sodumo scenario. There was actually men protecting Mambinja. And it's just like we have also like a community of apologists, of males who apologize for rapists like bricks. It's the system is literally built just so that men can benefit from it. The same way the system was built for white people to actually, benefit from it. It's equally very hard for somebody like myself to kind of build something because I'm black first. Second, I'm a woman. I'm supposed to be in a kitchen. I'm supposed to be cooking for a man. And I have no problem against women who stand by their men. I have no issues. I really support how you guys can grow those individuals. But don't baby him. Don't give him that position to think, oh no, we're Mfazi. We've got to do what we want to do with you guys. And that's why women get raped. That's why women get attacked. You heard what Bev said. She said women are seen as, men are so entitled to us that women are seen as a firing line for danger. Why is it that you need to step out of the house and feel like you're endangered? Yeah. It doesn't really necessarily make sense. So I think with regards to like structurally, we as women have to fight even harder. Like we haven't even started the firing line, but we need to get to a point where we are just shooting. And you can't be afraid of men because men are also human. All of us here are humans and we're going to die one day. We need to make sure our voices are loud.
Well said. I think I'll ask you one more question, then Clara will take over with some questions.
Okay.
So the second question here is, how do you feel about queer culture coming into the mainstream and being appropriated by the masses? However, they do not want to take on the problems associated with
homophobia, systematic oppression.
Yeah. Okay, a great example is the recent Snapchat filters with males taking on female filters and posing as women.
Yes.
Straight heterosexual men. I saw a tweet that day that said, you guys are having all this fun with these Snapchat filters. Can you also take into recognition and keep the same energy when it comes to trans men, when it comes to all the people that are currently going through a phase in their life that includes the LGBTQIA+. It just shows you that like the digital era has obviously enabled us to kind of open up more and establish ourselves more, but there's still that kind of sense of homophobia in certain spaces. Like Great Dane is mainly gay guys, but there are still hetero men that go in there kind of like oppressing these gay men, or Kitcheners. 2 weeks ago I was at Kitcheners and one of my friends, she's queer, but she's more like, she looks like a heterosexual, but she's very queer.
Okay.
And femme.
Yeah. Hey,
So,
shout out there.
Yeah. So it's like some guy grabbed her ass, like random. We go into the bathroom. There's a lot of men at the bathroom, and this guy randomly grabs her ass, doesn't know her from the get-go. And I think she wanted to literally fight him. Like it was about to become a huge fight because that's how entitled men are. And it was just like when those guys, after grabbing her ass, the friends were encouraging it. It just shows you the streamline of like patriarchy that lies in there, and it was just like, guys, can you just get your shit together? Like come together and start thinking as men, take responsibility as men. But let's get back to the question again. Can you just, before I defer, can you just remind me what the question is?
I think you actually covered the...
I think I also just want to speak to this, the fact that she reacted angrily is a very brave thing to do.
Sure.
So I've always thought that, if somebody says something homophobic to me or to my partner or does anything, I'm gonna fight them.
Yeah.
And I have a black belt, so it's not like completely unfounded.
Yeah.
But we were in Cape Town, the supposed gay capital of South Africa, and we were in a shopping center in a middle class area. All of these assumptions, there are class assumptions, race assumptions, assumptions that black people are more homophobic than white people, and that wealthier middle class people are more accepting than poor people. And there's a lot of these stereotypes. And unfortunately, we have to try and follow them. So unfortunately, we do have to go to areas like Parkhurst because there are more gay people there. And so I think there's a huge class stratification within the community and access, access to safety.
Yeah.
And so we were in this shopping center and I kissed her on the cheek on the escalator. We were going up and a man was coming down and he leaned across the escalator and started pulling on us and telling us to do it again and making very vulgar what's the word, actions. Yeah. And in that time I felt so small and I felt so scared actually because the truth is that in society men do have more power than women, and we have been taught that we don't have power against men, and so there's also a systematic power imbalance that I think we have to overcome within ourselves before we can ever do it in society.
That's very true. Very true.
Yeah. Okay. So, Bev said, that. Well, actually, Simon said we fought the old government and we're fighting the new government. And, while gay rights may have been written into the Constitution, and our Constitution was actually the first one to directly address gender and sexuality in the Bill of Rights and in our Constitution. And yet do you feel that that's something that's reflected on the ground? And do you feel that we are still fighting our government for rights and access and safety?
Like you mentioned, there are different classes. There are middle class, there's below middle class, there's township. And in the rural areas, I think majority of Johannesburg, 50% of social media users are in Gauteng. And outside of Gauteng, it's basically just the little minorities that can afford to log on to social media, be a part of the dialogue, be a part of the discussion that's currently happening online. And when you go to rural areas, you kind of become aware that you're different from them. And the same way she felt like that in Soweto, which is right here. How do people in the township feel in Eastern Cape or in KZN? It's a whole different spectrum. People are fearful when they go home. There are people who don't even go home anymore because their parents have rejected them. Their parents have excluded them from family activity, and that hurts because you're supposed to begin your discussion from love. You expect love and support from your family. And that's the thing about it. It's Bev was so privileged to have a family supportive and love her. But there are other members of society who come from these LGBTQI communities and do not have the support of their families. Just imagine waking up and you don't have the support of your own family. People that you grew up with, people that knew you from the beginning, When I was 4 years old, a friend of mine came out as gay. And he was gay from 4, but he only came out teens, when he was 16. And we all knew he was gay. We all knew that this boy is in the closet, And his dad, he told his mom at 16 that, listen, Mom, I'm gay and I'm ready to come out. And his mother said, don't tell your dad. Your dad will come out, get people to kill you, and you will not be able. And he was actually the best performer in school. He was number 1. He was an athletic guy. His name was Tebogo. And he was so brilliant at whatever he touched. But because he didn't get the love and support from his family, he had to wait to go to university in order for the love to kind of be exuded from other platforms such as university and these organizations such as Glow. So it's really hard to kind of find the balance between having people from that kind of mindset kind of divulge into where we're currently going as this generation, because we are very vocal, we are very liberal, and we are very driven. So I think it's still a challenge, it's still very hard, but slowly but surely the globalization that we're currently experiencing is enabling us to kind of have that platform to speak to our parents, say, Mom, this person got killed, this person got this, and parents love their children. It's just that the dynamics of the generations are two separate entities, so we can't really try and configure how we can bring that message across without offending our elders, without offending them and not showing them the respect that they obviously used to. So yeah, that's quite challenging with regards to being a queer person in this generation.
So being a queer person in this generation, and you briefly touched on it, kind of every space we access, everything we do in our daily lives is inherently political because we are navigating within this power structure. And a lot of people criticize the queer community for valuing parties and party culture and going out and creating these spaces in which we can, express ourselves and practice our culture. And what would you say to somebody who undermined the value of a party to the queer community as somebody who organizes these kinds of events?
I think I'd say to somebody like that, like, just be open-minded, open your mind. Don't be narrow-minded with regards to topics such as these. Opening your mind can actually give you more value than being closed-minded. So it's really tricky for somebody like myself, obviously because I'm in media and I kind of like have the channels to reach a certain market. But for somebody who really doesn't have the knowledge, it's really going to be kind of tricky for them. And I wanted to mention, because I have Mood as an events company, the reason why I started Mood was because in Pretoria, I lived in Pretoria, I studied in Pretoria, and Pretoria is a bit more safer, a bit more open.
Oh, really?
I would
Totally. And when I left Pretoria and I came to Joburg, and I saw how misogynistic men kind of oppress women as well as queer women, I told myself I'm going to create a space for my people. And that's exactly what I did, and that's how I invented Mood and enabled people to come to my events that are queer and creative as well. So it was really like, tricky in the beginning, but eventually I found my feet, and next week we're hosting another event with Palladium. It's a free event, and it's going to be like a Vogue night, something similar to that of Pose, but no judges and so forth. So if you guys are open to learning more about queer people in Johannesburg.
Do you have a Facebook page?
Yeah, it's called JHB Mood Parties.
We'll share it on our blog for anybody interested.
Yeah, so I think that's the point, is that we don't necessarily have a lot of safe spaces for women, and I really felt that when I got back to Joburg, and I grew up in Joburg, by the way, that's why I left. I just wanted to experience other places in South Africa. And when I got back and I still felt the same level of oppression, I was like, actually we can't live like this on a day to day. My friend's ass got grabbed at Kitcheners. That is unruly, that is ungovernable. So in 2019, and the discussion is open online, but is it are you telling your male friends and partners that, guys, this is actually, you're encouraging the wrong behavior? Do you get what I'm saying? So I think that's also another dialogue that needs to be delved into and discussed amongst each other and amongst males, So and also that post about every girl knows a rapist, but every male does not know. That post.
Every man knows a woman who's been raped, but they don't know the rapist.
It's really, it's just really a serious point of discussion that we need to delve into and kind of, open out as a public discourse. So that's the reason why I created Mood.
I think if you ask any queer person, they will have a story to tell about either a microaggression or a major aggression that they have faced, even from people very close to them. And it stems from the kind of having your feelings invalidated and your experiences and your ways of expressing yourself invalidated to extreme acts of violence. And so every day we're confronted with being told not to act a particular way, not to be a particular way. And so I think when these spaces are created by people like yourself, you can just go and be yourself you live in a world that tells you not to,
Very true.
And I think parties are like social media. We can curate who comes. We can curate a safe space. So thank you very much.
No problem.
I think with that said, I think we can open the floor to you guys. Does anyone have any questions they want to direct to Kumo or to us? Comments, anything that you're thinking?
Yes, please.
Do you want to stand up?
Just so we
Sorry,
can hear you. Thank you.
I just want to say that this was really cool, and for me, I always wondered how
how it was back then, and like how homophobia really is, like where homophobia comes from. And from that film, I think I realized how homophobia comes from confusion, because if you could see that guy, the black guy who was hating on the other, he couldn't even explain why he loved. So it's just rooted in confusion, and people didn't really know. So I feel like now it's the time.
Yes.
People wake up. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Yeah, sorry, just to like add on what she was saying. Didn't get to see the whole film, but like at the end, they actually became friends too.
Yeah.
So, which proves your point that like
It's
perhaps
unlearning.
it's
and learning.
perhaps it's unlearning what you've.
And it's being
No.
uncomfortable. It's realizing your privilege and how you can extend your platform. Simon and I,
Yes.
and I think a lot of people have to feel uncomfortable for real change to come about.
Yeah.
You know.
True.
I just found it interesting, like the different types of like oppression that the LGBT goes through, specifically Black people in the LGBT. Because you know how we can have these conversations on Twitter regarding Black Lives Matter and all of that, but then the Black community feels like if the issue is not affecting straight Black males, then the issue is like, then the issue doesn't exist. So if the issue is affecting Black LGBTQ, or the issues affecting women in the Black community, it's like, oh, that's not an issue. The gays are ruining the community. Like, so I feel like that was interesting to see in like the film and what you guys were talking about.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
This is a comment. So there's this though. So obviously we're in this whole era where we're suddenly more allowed and we're being able to express ourselves. We're starting to be more open. The dialogue is happening and it's starting to get better. I've found that there's even become a more open idea in religion, more specific.
For sure.
True.
Yeah. So there's this idea of a God that loves gays, and I think that that's been the most comforting thing, because I found that the hardest, not the hardest, obviously there's some pretty hard parts, but there's such a difficulty in being raised in a Christian home and then identifying as a person who is a part of the LGBTI plus. So it can be such a difficult dialogue to have within you. It's such a battle because I mean you've been raised with this idea of a God who hates gays, and it's like they told me he loves me, but I'm gay. Do they know? There's this conflict, and it's such a frightening thing for me to understand that and to realize that that's something that people can go through. I mean, you have a family that loves you until you tell them that you're gay, and it's like a whole
conditional
other person.
It's
It's
And
so
so-
frightening.
For any LGBTI persons who believe in God or who are Christian and are kind of wanting a space that fosters that, we've actually got a Christian LGBT group on campus that meets in Trinity Hall. You can find them on Facebook, but again we'll link it to our blog, which is survivinganthropology.home.blog. So you can go and there's our list up today, and even over the course of the next few days, some resources and some more information. So
At the back.
Oh yeah, I actually found it very interesting in the film that they talked about how, especially in African culture, like they said, people weren't open in the 20s and 40s and 60s about being gay and being Black. Because even like when I was younger, like for example, growing up, I had a friend. She was sort of like an older sister type, figure in the household, and she knows about a lot of stuff. And I just noticed like the way she dressed, she wasn't like most women how like society would like see women and men. And then I remember asking my mom like one day, I'm like, Mom, like, is like Tabangida was her name. So is Tabangida like, is she gay or she like what's up with her or is she And then she just answered me with like, no, she's just a bit sick, like she's just a bit sick. She has things to figure out and stuff. I know, she's just a bit ill. And then like it just stuck with me for like the rest of my life. And my mom was like a God-fearing woman. And I think someone said it here as well. And things like that kind of deterred me away from religion. Like, I mean, if God isn't accepting everyone, then why should I feel welcome in this place? And I've also found that colonialists, if it's not colonialists, if it's not other people just turn and like change the way religion is interpreted in their So I don't know if
And I think on that point, it's like churches have taught us to push propaganda, to push hate, you know. And if you guys don't follow suit in a certain way, you're sinful, you're evil, you're the devil, you know. So I think with regard, overall, guys, the point of discussion is that we need to start spreading love. Please start spreading love amongst each other, spreading love towards your friends who are queer, who are lesbian, who are gay, who are trans. Just spread love. They really need it, like the community really needs that love. The same way we're able to spread love amongst heterosexual environments and spaces, can we spread more love amongst communities such as that, the minority?
And not just sharing love, but also holding space. So saying, I don't actually know anything, and I actually don't have the right to partake in this, but I will do my best to support and hold space for others in these kinds of conversations, because even within the LGBT community, you know, there's different sections, you know, intersectionality, and that's what that means. And so that's what's saying is like, I'm gay, I can't speak on behalf of all gay people, I can't speak on behalf of all gay women. I can only speak for myself and my experiences, and those who find solace in that, you know, kind of having those kinds of conversations, holding space for other people to come forward with their stories, so that other people can relate.
There's a question at the back.
And then you,
I'm sorry.
Like I have an issue kind of finding spaces where you can, because obviously you can have discussion in kind of spaces like this and with your friends and in certain communities, and I find that in South Africa I struggle to find kind of programs where they're finding solutions for how to help women or men that are struggling with homophobia or just issues of trying to get into jobs or find safe space to be or to live. And then often I'll see like programs, international programs, trying to house people and educate, like active education programs and things like this, and just how you can find that in South Africa.
We have a number of resources, and I've actually got a directory which I can upload for everybody. But for example, there's a company called LGBT Forum, and they give what they call inclusivity training to companies who are looking to employ queer members. There is the Pride Shelter in Cape Town, which provides housing for homeless queer youth. There's the Triangle Project, there's Iranti, there's Gala, there's Activate. There are so many organizations, but unfortunately this information is disseminated via the internet. And so if you don't have access to the internet, then that can become difficult. But there's an organization called Empowerment Fear, and they particularly aim to support queer black women in townships. And so what they have started doing is going door to door, going to different churches and to schools, and disseminating knowledge that way. And so there are definitely tens of organizations. Unfortunately, we don't have hundreds and thousands like overseas, but we are getting there. So, and then yes, you had a question.
It was more of a comment about how it's quite interesting to see how areas are being more inclusive. There was a time I went to Great Dane, which is, I usually go with a friend of mine who happens to be gay. His name's Zuri, and I had somebody grab my ass as well. And immediately I turned around and I like choked it, because I was like, what are you doing? And my friend Zuri had to like hold me back and was like, relax.
No,
but about 15 minutes.
Grab his ass.
Dude, I was so ready to beat that guy.
How does it feel?
It's not nice. But luckily, 15 minutes later, a waiter came to me and he was like, listen, I saw what happened and he's been kicked out. Please, and that's happened like 4, 5, 6 times when I've been at Great Dane, and they actually help you feel more included and safe. And
so it's like creating intolerance for that kind
of thing. And I think we need to also recognize, instead of always looking at the bad, like there are places where you can feel safe.
They are.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. I think that if that's all the questions, we definitely just want to give Kumo another round of applause. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, guys.
And once again, please write your thoughts, feelings, emotions, opinions. Keep them nice. And then you can grab a peg. We'll set some pegs up on the desk, and you can go and pin them to the wall there.
And we can take a picture.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
We want to take pictures.
I know.